Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today I'm chatting with Will Powell, a personal trainer with nearly 20 years of experience working largely with retirees and people with Parkinson's disease. We'll talk about staying motivated and accountable with your health goals and the importance of doing different things. Now let's get started. Hi, Will. Thank you so much for joining me today on this podcast. You are, uh, from what I understand, a great resource for the people with Parkinson's. I I got your name from Hamel Challenge and Betsy as someone who can provide personal training to the people in our community and others, I understand. So I just wanted to have you on so that you could talk a little bit about what you do, what you offer, and get your name out there.
Michelle, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you. I really appreciate you reaching out and touching base with me. I have been doing personal training in Greensboro as a native of Greensboro. I've been doing training since 2006, and so closing in on almost 20 years. And in the last, say, 10 years, I have had the opportunity to work with several very wonderful Parkinson's patients that are really speak to me as much as I try to encourage and help them. The fighting spirit of the individuals that I have worked with has been a blessing in my life and reminder to me to get up every day and appreciate the challenges that I have because I see the ones that they face and they do it with such grace and dignity. So it benefits me in so many ways. But I have been doing personal training in a variety of places in Greensboro and have had the opportunity to work with a variety of clientele. I love doing what I'm doing. I love working with people on a regular basis. I thoroughly enjoy waking up and going to work every day. So the one-on-one personal part of personal training is for me a tremendous blessing uh, because we become family. The more you get to spend time with them, you get to know them a little bit. They get to know you a little bit. So you're sharing some of each other's lives together. And since COVID, I've had the opportunity to come out and do personal training independently. So currently, I have a little garage space that I work out of and also do some mobile remote work. People that are interested in working out of their homes and doing some training there, I offer that. And I have some relationships with some of the retirement communities in town that have also been opened up their environment for me to come and help serve the community there. So that demographic has been for me to watch the retirees work so hard and see improvement is just a wonderful resource really to encourage everyone else that you can do it too. There's no reason that you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a family.
What are some of the things that you work with? I mean, are you working balance, strength, stamina? Can you give an
Sure.
idea of what a typical workout would look like?
Typical workout for me is with a demographic that's in the retired uh, part of their life and has aching joints. One of the phrases I like to use is motion is lotion because it really is for the joints. Warm up, a good solid warm up. We like to get a little bit of more high intensity work in and allow that heart rate to come down. I like to show people how hard that they can actually work. One thing that I have found is that many people don't know what real strength training, what a real workout should look like. It's always sometimes not as challenging as it could be. It doesn't
Mhm.
always need to be, depending on an individual's goals. But included in a session would be some higher intensity portions with some strength training portions and some stretching and some balance. I don't have a client that doesn't need to also work on low back. Almost everybody has a low back pain or low back issue. So so stretching down there with several variety of stretches and also just strengthening that area regularly, you will see some results. So
I'm
that's what you can get into like a half hour session.
so I'm curious if you specifically when you were talking about strengthening, do you find that people are pushing themselves usually too hard or not hard enough? Or, is there a
Yeah,
trend?
great question. Not hard enough. I think most people don't know that they can do a little bit harder and not hurt themselves.
Mhm.
Most people haven't really pushed themselves to that point where they're really going to see true and lasting results. Not an entire session needs to be built in that, and not every time you come to a workout does it need to be handled that way.
Mhm.
But there do need to be periods where you're uncomfortable, and if you're not, then you're probably not going to see some of the changes that you might be looking for.
Yes, I see this mostly with breathing in particular. Like we use a 1 to 10 breathing scale and show them the chart. How short of breath do you feel after we've done something?
Mm,
And they'll point usually to about moderate, 3
hmm
out of 10.
hmm
And
Okay.
that's the green zone. I'm saying,
Right.
well, that's where you need to be. You don't stop when you get there. That's
Sure.
trying to
Yeah.
explain to them, well, think about someone who runs a marathon. They don't stop when they get to a 3. You never get anywhere.
Sure.
So
Correct.
I see what, yeah, you're saying is I think they think, oh, I'm getting a little winded. Got to sit down.
Yeah. It- It's also interesting to use the RPE, or rate of perceived exertion scale, when you first are introduced to a new client, and then several weeks or months down the road, how hard they feel like they're working initially doing very basic exercises,
Mhm.
as opposed to several weeks of conditioning, and that changes. You're doing the same thing you were doing before. You're not feeling like you're working as hard,
Yes.
and that's just the conditioning of the body, and it's starting to take effect, which is
Hmm.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's nice to show them a little bit more in concrete ways the progress that
Right.
they're making because sometimes they
Sure.
don't really see it in themselves without that objective stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So if when you see people in their homes, let's say, do they need to provide any equipment? Do you bring anything? What would a person expect to need if they called you and said, please come over?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I can offer is a bench, several weights. We use some suspension training systems, i.e., TRX, and find a space in the room where we can move a little bit. You don't need that much, and I think what I'm getting to the point is that there really aren't any excuses for anyone not to work out. So if you have just a little corner of your house, if you have a door that closes, we can set up a TRX, and there's a lot of exercises, and you'd be surprised at how good of a workout you can get even in your home in a small amount of room. Obviously there are some limitations there,
Mhm.
with fixed motion exercises with machines and that sort of thing that can't be brought in. But what machines don't offer are the strengthening of the stabilizing muscles in the joint. So that's a fixed axis. So actually, you get a lot out of a suspension training system, free weights, and doing isometric exercises as well that just strengthen your general core. So it can be quite an intense workout. I think most people that I work with are surprised at what can be done in a half hour in your home.
Mhm. Mhm. Do do your people ever have specific needs? Like, I don't know, they want to be able to garden or golf or certain specific tasks that they're trying to achieve, or they usually just, I just want to be stronger.
Yeah, well, I think everybody in general would say to you and to me, I want to be a little bit stronger than I am, want to be in better shape. Probably underlying there are some things, if you poke and ask the right
Dig in
questions,
there. Uh-huh.
there's a reason that they reached out to you. Something in their life changed, and they noticed that they weren't able to do something they could do a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or all of a sudden they realized, hey, I was trying to put my shoes on. I couldn't bend over and do that, but
Uh-huh.
it felt like it happened yesterday. It was obviously more gradual than that, but it does happen. That they finally get to a point where some changes need to occur in my life. So, um, yeah, there could be specific, golf related swings, some tennis related motions, running, trying to get it just greater endurance for some sort of race that you might be trying to sign up for. But
Pickleball,
generally, what's that?
pickleball,
Pickleball.
wanting to play
That's
pickleball.
the latest. Yes,
Right?
absolutely. And I mean, it's a fantastic exercise.
Mhm.
You need to be a little bit agile. You need the joints to be able to move for you. So yeah, it's there can be some specific things, and you need to be able to work through those motions. A lot of that's rotating, and you got to be careful with that. You need to build the core first before you start, really twisting the spine too much. But it's there's so many things that you can do inside the home to give you the strength to do those things. To go out and swing, your drives will be a little bit farther, your serves will be a little bit stronger. When you're enjoying the sport that you're trying to play, you're having more fun, and life's a little bit better. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into personal training and this whole avenue?
Yeah, this goes back really to me as a child. I'm 41 years old. I have a family. I've got two teenage kids that are in ninth grade, and I have a fifth grader. And this goes back really to me when I was 8 years old. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 8 years old. And that really was a foundation for what the trajectory of my life would be, because I found pretty quickly that exercise was essential for me, that I was not going to be able to just sit on the couch and eat chips and play video games. My kids kind of hate it that I'm terrible at those things. But I'd rather be out doing something, trying to move a little bit. So it became a part of who I was, as a diabetic. When I would eat a snack, I would either have to take some insulin or I could go for a walk around the block.
Mhm.
And so that became part of who I was, just needing to move. And then when you start to realize, hey, this is a field I could get into, and I enjoyed being with people, I enjoyed the one-on-one nature of it, and of course knew that I wasn't really built for a desk job. I wasn't going to be able to sit back and kick my feet up all day. Um, so that kind of pointed me in the direction of exercise science. So I graduated from Greensboro College with a degree in exercise science, and then stayed in town and have been doing personal training ever since then.
Wow.
And really, again, like I say, I love what I do. I'm glad that I get to move. It helps me with my blood sugars on a regular basis. And I get to, in turn, watch people grow and become stronger, and encourage them for a, healthy lifestyle and that sort of thing.
Mhm. And then what got you into working with some of the Parkinson's folks?
At a previous gym that I was working at, we had a Rocksteady boxing class, and some of those, before entering into the Rocksteady class, they would come into an introductory session with me, and we would practice some of the boxing moves and prepare them for what they would end up doing in the class. So give them kind of a heads up. Hey, this is what you should expect as you head into your Rocksteady boxing class. And that you meet individuals there, and you realize what they're capable of, how the coordination does become an issue, and you have to focus on that. So you have to be a little more patient with some of those clients as you try to really anchor down the essentials, so that you're making sure you're getting these proper moves in, you're not hurting yourselves, and you're not just flailing your body in any particular way, but that you're letting the neurons fire as they're supposed to across the synapses, right? And you're making proper contact with your hands, so telling your body what to do, and then being patient to let it do that, and then trying to retrain through repetition some of those motions.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and but working with these guys, that's what got me into that. And then I realized there's so much more. We were doing primarily boxing work at that point, as preparing for the Rocksteady class, but then having some opportunity to do some strength training with them, and seeing that, man, these guys, they can do a lot, and they've got a lot of strength. And if you can slow down the motion, you can be patient with them and watch them move, It's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Some of that gait, we spend a lot of time working on their gait because it tends to be relatively shallow,
Hmm.
and that's where you get into danger. You're dragging those feet,
Right.
but picking those knees up, standing in place, driving those knees, and
Uh-huh.
retraining that so that when you walk, you're more likely to pick your feet up over the threshold into a new room,
Yeah.
and preparing for those potential, could be dangerous
Yeah.
moves if you trip and fall.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you get your clients now? Are you just
So
word of
my
mouth,
clients are
basically?
primarily word of mouth. At the bottom of the Hamel Kerr, email, my name and my phone number are down there. That's one way you can find me, but it's word of mouth. You can send an email to my email address, powelltraining@gmail. You can text or a call. My phone number 336-706-0271. Little plug there.
Yep.
And
And I'll be sure to put in the
then
notes down below for people who, yeah,
sure,
can catch that.
perfect. And yeah, so that's how people find out about me.
Hmm.
And doing, so I'm really grateful that you reached out for an opportunity just to be able to speak to you and see how this community really is expanding.
Yes.
And it's important that we don't isolate ourselves to one particular thing, but that we see what is available out there, so that for the Parkinson's folks, they have plenty of resources to reach to.
Yeah, I think it's important that they have more than, one or two options, just like anybody, really. You get bored doing one thing.
Right.
And so to have personal training and classes and power moves and drumming and dancing, I think it's important to offer all that, whether one person does multiple things or if it's just a person has different, not everyone wants to do drumming, not everyone wants to do boxing. So having that variety is so important for everyone, really. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
it really is. And I've had several. You think about the number of repetitions, say, if you're doing any single exercise,
Mhm.
how much over the course of some time there can be the potential for overuse injury. So
Mhm.
you're doing a lot of punching. The shoulders are moving a lot, and you could potentially have some issue there at some point. So, like you're suggesting, variation is
Mhm.
where results are really found, because
Mhm.
the same thing every time, your body will adapt to that, and you do want to try to find new things. I think that's very well said, because this motion, but also the drumming motion,
Yeah.
and finding other things that and other people that have a perspective that's slightly different from what you've been doing will really challenge your brain as well.
Yeah, exactly. That whole brain challenge I love because that's that whole neuroplasticity thing that is important for
Right.
everybody.
It
And
absolutely is.
I listened to a podcast the other day about this woman. She's a neuroscientist and was talking about the benefits to the brain of exercise. And that's just building those
Mm,
neural pathways. You get that instant dopamine and serotonin increase.
mm,
So it's
mm.
instantaneous result without the side effects of medication. So
Right.
it improves your memory, cognition, and while it might not permanently cure people or prevent them from getting certain diseases, it can certainly help delay, reduce
Mm.
reduce
Well,
the,
we refer to ADLs,
yeah.
improving your activities of daily living. So
How important is
even
that?
if an hour out of your day gives and you spend it time with some community, with some people, just the conversation with others as well, but
Mhm.
more particularly the exercise and trying new motions, that it it makes what you do back in your everyday life so much easier,
Right.
because you're working at an intensity, hopefully, that's outside of your normal
Hmm.
time living, and then you go back to every day, and now all of a sudden you're walking at a regular pace and you're not out of breath, or you're able to go up several flights of stairs because you've been doing step ups, and so that doesn't wear you
Hmm.
out, and your legs have some endurance to help you do that. So
Yeah.
if
You
you
have
and
the
I
balance to
and the
put your
community can
pants on and your clothes on.
absolutely,
So,
yeah, and step into the shower, step out of the shower, and
yeah,
try to
that's
do that
priceless.
confidently. It absolutely is. It can really mean a lot to someone who those little things are tough.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think for most people, we kind of take for granted a lot of that. And so it's nice to kind of put your mindset into a place where some of the simple things that you and I do
Hmm.
are challenging to others. So putting yourself there in their shoes for a minute can be very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that insurance doesn't pay for more than it does, and these people have to actually pay to keep themselves so functional. But in the long run, they're saving so much by preventing injuries. So
Right.
that's the point I try to get across to people is I think your health is really
Mm,
worth it. Um,
right.
to put,
Well, I think we've known for a long time that even eating healthy is
yeah,
more expensive.
yeah,
So the average person wants to have a healthier lifestyle. Well, McDonald's would be cheaper,
yeah,
but having a healthy meal instead could be a whole lot better. But it's going to cost you a little bit more. So
cost a little more.
yeah, I mean, it is a shame. I think everybody and anybody that might watch this video, and you and I could agree that we know the system, the big system, could be better.
Yeah.
It definitely could be better. There's room for improvement across the board, but investing in your health, and I think really carving in time. Sometimes I
Hmm.
think it's an maybe a well, I just don't have the time for it. Well, I promise you, if you'll make the time,
Yeah.
and we all make time to do the things we want to do.
Hmm.
You know, we don't make time to do things we don't want to do, or we find excuses not to do it. But if you could just carve in the time, then you would see that there are some results to be found, and your life is going to be so much better. You're going to feel better. You're going to have so much more energy, and just across the board, I think you'll see
Hmm.
results.
So what's something that you carve time into for your own personal exercise routine or health routine? What's your thing?
That's great. Well, I'd say actually two things. For me, my wife and I work pretty full schedules during the day, so we don't really get to see each other quite a lot. And when we get back home after a long day, we have made an effort in the last several months to walk around the neighborhood. And that walk for me has been a time for she and I to talk, to just take
Hmm.
a breath of fresh air, to appreciate the slowness of that. Like, and there's
Hmm.
no intention in this walk to raise the heart rate, to
Hmm.
try to find a challenging hill, or to do anything tough, quite honestly. It really is to bring all that back down. It is to just calm your heart, to settle your mind, and to really meditate for a few minutes just um, on the long, busy day that you've had. And for me, that and for my wife, I think I could say for her as well that that means more to she and I than a lot of just exercise
Hmm.
or strenuous exercise. But to that point, we have also carved in several times during the week to go work out together. So I think what I'm getting at is that it's kind of threefold. It's having some time to be calm, to walk, to kind of meditate, get some fresh air, have some time where you're going to exercise and really, really put forth the effort. And then thirdly, it's doing it with someone that you care about. And not everybody has that person right there. And there's nothing wrong with that because there's been plenty of time in my life where you learn to do that by yourself. But I got to say, the community coming together is a big part of that. And for me, community is my wife. And so we get to do that together. And it's I'll come home after we've walked and it's like we've shared some of the day. Some of the stresses don't feel like they're on our shoulders. And I look out my house and see folks walking that are talking on the phone with someone that might
Hmm.
not be right there. So finding somebody you can kind of share life with and not feel like that you're kind of out here on an island fighting the
Hmm.
world alone. I like to know people, for people to know that you're not alone, that there's always someone that you can reach out to.
And that really, I think in your case, this walk is a nice transition between the work and interaction with people and the go, 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 it gives you that time to decompress so that then you shift into mom and dad mode and you can be in a better space with the
That's
kids
exactly
and
right.
family. And I think that's really important. I think people who work from home especially have difficulty, I've heard,
Mm,
making that switch,
hmm.
of doing that. So maybe for them, taking that walk out, that's the reset and
Right.
coming back in.
Come back in. Yeah.
Yeah. And then having a partner for sure. I have a few people who come to my silver sneakers class at the Y who are friends who they come together every time. One picks up
Yeah.
the other and they're accountable to each other. They don't live together, but they make that arrangement. They're there every
Yeah.
so
Well, what
yeah.
that hits a whole other topic that I find extremely important, which is accountability, because a lot of what my job is getting into making sure that people do something that they may already know how to do or have the capability of doing very well, but they just know themselves that
Mhm.
they will not do it without having someone say, I'm waiting here for you. And I've got a plan designed specifically for you, and I'm going to make sure you get it done. Some people know that that's where success is found for them. I love it when somebody's self-driven and they can get up 5 a.m. and they can go out there and do it, and they don't need a wake up call or anything. But not everybody's built like that. It's just the reality of it. Some people need to know, hey, I'm checking in on you. I want to make sure you're coming today, and we're
Mhm.
going to get it done. And that might alone be enough to say, all right, look, I've faithfully come, twice a week for a month, and that's more than I've done in years. So once you
Mhm.
start building these small, you create small goals and you build upon that, and then all of a sudden you realize, man, I've lost some pounds, I'm feeling better, and that accountability is really what made it happen.
Yeah, and that's something that I run across a lot as a home health therapist, where we have to show progress, right? And at a certain point, we're not making enough progress, even though I know they need
Hmm.
continued oversight. But as they would say, I just need you to come and do it with me. Make sure I do
Yeah.
it. I
Right.
said, I'm sorry, but your insurance doesn't pay for a physical therapist to do
Right.
that. That's a
Sure.
personal trainer,
Mm.
or your
Right.
family or somebody,
Right.
which is a shame.
It is.
Because when I don't go, then they stop doing and they get weaker again, and then they need us back in. It becomes that revolving door.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, but that is our
You
some
like to think that you're giving them the jump start and you're teaching them to do those things, but as we are finding that most people just don't have that intrinsic motivation to continue doing it.
going.
But
Yeah.
if sweet Michelle would come in and just show me how to do this every week, then I would happily do it because she makes me smile. I feel good when I do it. I'm not
Yeah.
alone because again, that goes back to that uh, the relationship that is
Mhm.
found in that, and that makes someone feel it's so much. Exercise is just so much more than just moving the body.
Oh
It
yeah.
is very, very mental. It's all between the ears, right? I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of it is
Yeah.
between the ears. Sometimes you can cut that off and make it happen, but much of the time you need this space here, the head space,
Mhm.
to be in a good space before you can really uh, take off and get some physical exercise done.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me feel better. I mean, I drag my feet into that silver sneakers class some weeks, but I always come out feeling like, oh my God, that was so fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
I have clients very regularly say, I don't feel good today. We're going to try to do what we can. And halfway through, they're like, I'm not feeling that bad actually. And I felt better
yeah,
when I finished. So
yeah.
it's a pretty regular comment that I hear for sure.
Oh, this is one I get a lot in home health therapy. Oh, I'm not ready to start therapy. I'm not strong enough. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I'm coming. I
Yeah. Let
said,
me get in better shape. Let me lose a few pounds and then I'll touch base with you.
then you can come.
Hang on a second. Yeah, where you are today is where you start. And I think that's what's encouraged me too about the Parkinson's demographic is that they find, I mean, for many of them, they're 65, 70 plus
Mhm.
years old. And for some, this might be their first time getting exercise, but it was this diagnosis that has found them start to move again.
Mhm.
And so not only are they treating some of the symptoms of Parkinson's, but they're giving themselves some longevity in general by moving. So it's,
Oh,
you know, it's twofold, but it gets them back to where they're at. And it's like, well, I'm starting today, whatever condition I'm in, will just take you as you are. And that's really the best way to look at this. Because
mhm.
if you're waiting for something, if you're waiting to be ready, I mean, there's always a leap of faith, right, Michelle? I mean, there's got to
Yep.
be a leap of faith into nearly anything we do. And so take whatever environment you've got, situation, circumstance you've been dealt today, and start a lifelong journey to better health.
Excellent. Very well said. Well, that's very well said. Good place.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything else that we want to make sure that people know about you or what you do, or any other thoughts that you might have that we didn't?
I can't think of anything, Michelle. We hit several good topics here, and um, I don't know of anything else that I can really add to it.
Okay. Well, I'll be putting your information in the comment section below so that people can reach out to you if they have any questions or want to work with you, if that's all right. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and as you mentioned, on all the Hamilcar stuff that Betsy does and other people do, I know your name's
Right.
there as well. So, oh, so I do want to bring up that if people have financial limitations, that you are supported by Hamilcar. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
They
You
can.
would need to. Yeah, I mean, if you have Parkinson's
Mhm,
and you
right.
can communicate with there's several contacts at Hamilcar. Alicia Pendleton is one of them,
Mhm.
and depending on when this video may be viewed, that person may, you know, it may not be changed, but you just
Yeah.
need to some sort of contact at Hamilcar, and they would probably happily scholarship you to be able to receive some help doing that. We, you know, you and I really feel strongly that that shouldn't be a limitation for those that really need
Mm,
it.
yeah. Yeah. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Will. I really appreciate it, and your insights, I hope, will help quite a few people.
Michelle, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.